Let's turn to CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick, who's joining us once again live from Washington. She was listening in to the press conference. So a lot to pull apart there. Megan, what stood out for you?
Yeah, well, I think that revision of the number, as you mentioned, is a key thing that came out of that briefing there. Yesterday afternoon, one of the FBI's updates in a news release, they said FBI New Orleans confirms there have been 15 deceased victims related to the attack on Bourbon Street. They did not specify that that number included the suspect who was shot dead by police. There was an exchange of gunfire after the truck he was driving crashed, and police saying that he then got out of the vehicle, fired at officers, hitting 2 of them who survived and are in hospital. So there has been much reporting that it was 15 victims. Now, the FBI clarifying that it's 14 victims plus the suspect. So that is a key takeaway out of that briefing. And they also filled in a lot of other details about what they've learned about the suspect, whose name is Shamsuddin Jabbar, who's a 42-year-old man from Texas. They mentioned his military career. We'd already heard about that. They said they have interviewed many people who knew him, and they want to talk to more. So they are encouraging members of the public and people who knew him to contact the FBI, anyone that was in the area that night. And they said that they have received more than 400 tips already that they are working to follow through on. In terms of the timeline too, Natasha, we got more details on the hours really leading up to the attack. So they confirmed that Jabbar rented the pickup truck on December 30th in Houston, Texas, and then drove to New Orleans on the night of the 31st. You mentioned the videos. There were 5 of them that he posted to his Facebook account in the early hours of January 1st. So they said the first video was posted around 1:29 a.m., the last one at 3:02 a.m. That would have been right before this attack started on Bourbon Street. And the FBI agent giving details about what was said in those videos. He said Jabbar was talking about wanting to harm his family and friends in some of those videos, and that he said on those videos that he had joined ISIS, the terrorist organization, before the summer. So we got details about some of the evidence that we know they are relying on in this investigation. They also said they have recovered 3 cell phones connected to Jabbar and 2 laptops. They're, of course, combing through all of those devices for further evidence. But they did say, too, in going through them so far, that is in part what is leading them to say that they now believe Jabbar likely acted alone, that there are no accomplices that they are aware of. The agent saying he's confident about that. Yesterday, they did say something along different lines, that it's possible he may not have acted alone. He explained one of the reasons they thought there could possibly be people assisting in this attack. They talked about those improvised explosive devices that they found yesterday in 2 locations in the French Quarter near where the attack happened, one on Bourbon Street and one about 2 blocks away. These were improvised explosive devices found in coolers. They say they have now found surveillance video showing Jabbar placing those coolers on the streets. Now, as people were out celebrating and out on the streets, he said some people opened those coolers and were looking inside of them. The FBI wants to talk to those people, he said, but they saw that on the surveillance videos. So they had to explore whether those people who had touched the coolers, looked inside of them, were at all part of this attack. And he's clarifying now that they don't believe so. They were just passersby looking into the coolers. But again, that's one of the reasons he's saying they don't believe he had accomplices in this attack. They've been combing through his devices, his call logs, his travel history, his other activities leading up to the attack this week. Now, he also was asked, what do they know so far about what led Jabbar to be radicalized or to become a supporter of ISIS? It is very early in this investigation still, he repeatedly said throughout that briefing, but he did say that quote, path to radicalization is a focus of their investigation. But he said they believe he was 100% inspired by ISIS. Just also wanting to mention, Natasha, that he mentioned that incident that happened yesterday also in Las Vegas, the explosion of that Tesla Cybertruck. That happened a few hours after this attack in New Orleans. We know authorities are investigating that. Not clear exactly what that was all about. There was one body that was recovered from that vehicle, which was also a rental vehicle. The FBI saying in this briefing here that at this point, they have not made any definitive link between those two incidents. And just lastly, as you mentioned, we heard in that briefing that Bourbon Street is going to be reopened in just a matter of hours. This was a massive crime scene, but they have processed the scene, collected evidence from it, and the FBI, which is leading the investigation, has now turned control of it back over to the city and the local police force there. And they're just making final preparations to reopen it to the public before that big football game that is set to happen around 3 p.m. local time. This is the Sugar Bowl football game that was meant to be played last night, a college football game, a tradition in the city since the 1930s. They did postpone the game until today because of what happened yesterday, and to ensure that enough security could be in place to manage what will be a massive crowd. We're talking tens of thousands of people descending on this stadium this afternoon. A lot of people were in the city, not just for New Year's celebrations, but also to take in this game. And we know they have bolstered security beyond just the local police force in the city. The National Guard has been brought in, Louisiana State Police have been brought in, and they were expressing a lot of confidence there that they think this game will proceed safely. So we did hear quite a bit of reassurances for the public as well, Natasha, from the city's mayor and others saying we are ready for the game and future events. The Super Bowl is meant to take place, not meant to take place, it is taking place in the city in just a few weeks at that same stadium. But we were hearing from officials how the city is used to hosting big events. They intend to keep doing that, and they intend to keep doing it safely. But I think one of the key takeaways is just the speed at which this investigation is going, and the fact that the street is being reopened to the public this afternoon, just a little over 24 hours after this attack happened.
Okay, CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick in Washington. Thank you, Megan.
Welcome.